Why should you listen to me? I've been building on the blockchain since 2014. I built on this blockchain called Stellar, and kind of tinkering with blockchain development since then. Since 2018, I've been full-time building in the Ethereum ecosystem. I just hit 5 years. I was formerly at Consensus. I was the DeFi product lead. I launched an early NFT project back in 2020 called Meme, Don't Buy Meme. I also launched nifties.com, and I'm also an avid NFT collector, investor, and serial builder. So last year I launched my company called VenturePunk. The whole idea is that we're gonna explore Web3. We're gonna experiment with these unique tools. Several shots on goal. The idea is that we're building new and innovative technology, try to launch something every other month. So if anyone knows anything about going from 0 to 1 in Web3, I think I'm on that list. Today we're going to be talking about going from 0 to 1, going from the idea does not exist to now we have passionate users. So this talk is broken up into 2 sections. How to find passionate users for your product. It could be product, it could be DAO, it could be community. I could be a content creator. It's similar steps whether you're building a product or community or you're an influencer. And then number 2, how to develop Web3 spidey sense. That's kind of what I call this balance between knowing what's coming, how to jump at trending metas, how to know what to build next. So we'll get into that. So I hope this talk is very practical and informational and helpful for a lot of you. We're going to be going through, no amazing visuals. It's really just a practical playbook for how to find passionate users for your project. And it's simple. You go from insight, find your audience, how do you hook them, and then reach. So step 1, it's pretty obvious. Come up with your idea. For a while there, people were saying your idea doesn't matter, right? As long as you have enough enthusiasm and talent, you'll be able to make something work. I'm not buying it. I think the idea, the what, is very important. It's not the end of the world if you have a bad idea, but you need the why. You need the what. What are you building? What are you doing here? And there are several reasons to come up with an idea. Number 1, the first strategy of finding an idea is to solve your own problems. I think if you're deep into this space and you're an avid user, collector, builder, trader, you're very quickly you're going to see some problems that exist. This tool didn't work right, or this was too frictiony. The UX wasn't quite right. You're going to run into a lot of problems, even now in Web3. So if it's something that you experience, a problem you experience, chances are someone else experiences those problems too. Number 2, follow your curiosity and tinker. By being deep in this space, you'll start to identify things that interest you, kind of double click on those, double down on those things, and explore. We're all building things that didn't exist. No one is an expert here. We're all making this up as we go. Please don't be afraid to try something new, to try something different. We're all kind of figuring this out together. I think OpenSea and Coinbase are good examples of these, huge, massive players in this space, but it all started by the founder just having an interest in Bitcoin or having an interest in the ERC-721 technology and doubling down on that, becoming an expert overnight. And double down on what works. Find something that generates some sort of interest from somebody and figure out why, and then put more resources into that specific thing. You can also work backwards from paradigm shifts. We're all here because we believe in most of us believe in that crypto ideal. So start to think what the future looks like in a couple decades, and then work backwards. Work backwards. It might be that you think NFTs are going to proliferate. The idea of owning any media 10 years from now the base technology is going to be an NFT. Okay, what do we need to do so we get there? What are the building blocks? What are the milestones that need to exist to get to that spot? And then lastly, holding all those first four things in mind, start to brainstorm with friends. You'd be surprised when you put several people together in the same room with different perspectives but same level of enthusiasm. Just shooting ideas back and forth. It's a really great way to kind of crystallize on an idea. One project that we've launched at our venture studio called Venture Punk is called Raccoons. It's a CCO project with this universe of cartoon raccoon characters. From idea to launch, it was 2 weeks. It was an open edition for 24 hours. It was like $6 to mint one baby raccoon. And we pulled in 200 ETH just in 24-hour open edition. Because we capitalized on a couple things, some of the things that we talked about in the last slide, which is paying attention to what people are doing, becoming fascinated, solving your own problems. I was a collector and I was buying NFTs, different collections, and there was a meta for a while, the open edition meta, and the burn, kind of this burn mechanic. And I said, what if you could start with one character and almost like Pokemon, evolve your characters into different phases? I thought we'd sell a few thousand of them. We ended up selling 46,000 baby raccoon characters. And now we're starting to build out this ecosystem of fun storytelling on the blockchain with CCO IP. Once you have that idea, I recommend quickly prototyping it. Anybody can come up with an idea, but it really makes a difference once you put it to code or to visuals, get a wireframe up. Once you're able to kind of make it real, it could just be a fake website. Once you actually put it out into the world, you'd be surprised at how much of a boost that is for you. And once you do kind of make it publicly, whether it's a website or a wireframe or a Figma file, start showing it to people, start talking to people as soon as possible. When you think you have something, you need to figure out what you're building, and not only what you're building, but who you're building it for. So that's step 2, the audience. Identify your super specific who. I'm intentional about saying super specific. It needs to be narrow. It's okay if, it could be comically narrow, like extremely narrow. If you're solving a problem or delighting a handful of users, that's great. You're on to something. When you've identified a handful of people that you've solved their problem or you've provided a positive experience, and you have several of these types of users, find what's common about these users. There's usually some key characteristics, some specific attributes that all these users share. Figure out what it is. Are they from the same community, the same part of the world? Do they have some of the same goals or other kind of characteristics? And don't be afraid to start small and move quickly. Another project that we launched, this was last summer, we launched Skylab. Skylab is a Web3 builder community that we've launched. We've got several hundred people in our Discord, and the whole idea is that we are providing value for a relatively small base of users. I said, hey, I'm in a bunch of Telegram groups and Discord groups, and the focus is about trading. The focus is about flipping or alpha or whatever. I was missing a community for builders, so I built it. I found a small group of friends that agreed with me on that statement, that there needs to exist a Discord where other founders and builders are pushing each other forward. So that's when we launched Skylab. We found our audience, and now we're continuing to build and evolve what Skylab looks like, and it's currently a home for hundreds of Web3 founders, investors, and builders. I encourage you to check out Skylab. Once you know what you're building, once you know who you're building for, now we need to craft our pitch. Also known as the hook. How do you hook these people in? How do you hook similar groups, similar sets of people into your idea? Figure out what you do that's unique. How do you compare to competitors? Talk to your existing community. How would they describe you? Something that was really beneficial for Skylab as we try to figure out our vision for the project, as we try to figure out what next steps to take. There was one thing where I thought we should go, but it was really helpful when I started talking to community members and members of the Discord, like what do you like most about this community? Where do you see it going? And it was really beneficial to open up the Discord, the conversation there to really, how do you see us? I know you've been hanging out for a few months in this Discord. Why? Why is that? Why do you keep coming back? And there's a concept in product development called jobs to be done. And it's really about what value you provide to the user. What are they getting from you that they otherwise wouldn't get? Or what are they getting from you that they would be rather getting from a competitor? The last strategy for crafting your hook is find ways to capture people's attention. So a couple weeks ago, we launched Levels, levels.art. It's a on-chain NFT gaming platform. It's literally on-chain. This entire game that you're seeing here lives on-chain. It's the assets, the game code, the high scores, everything lives on the blockchain. And we've partnered with top artists. In this case, our first drop was Cloud Poppers. We partnered with the amazing artist Brian Brinkman. And it really started out as, wow, wouldn't it be cool if there was like a decentralized arcade where everything lived on chain? And we partnered with the most amazing artists in the space. And so from idea to finding the right audience, okay, the audience aren't necessarily gamers, they're art enthusiasts, they're NFT art collectors. Wouldn't it be cool if instead of just looking at your NFT, you could actually engage in it? Wouldn't it be cool if instead of looking at your NFT that you could actually jump in and start playing? So we worked with Brian Brinkman. He was the 10th artist to drop on Art Blocks, and we launched Levels. Really the hook, there's so much going on here, right? There's gaming, there's art, there's generative art, there's on-chain. It's kind of difficult sometimes to communicate this. So for the hook, what I say is that it's a combination of, Sotheby's and Chuck E. Cheese, right? It's a combination of like fine art and fun gameplay. So check it out, levels.art if you're interested. Step 4 is reach, and that's finding these early adopters by doing things that don't scale. A lot of times we hear about that in startup land. Airbnb is known for doing things early that didn't scale, and especially in Web3, where things didn't exist before, we have to be really good about doing things that may not scale. It's okay to be spending a ton of time with your early users. It's actually recommended to be spending a ton of time with your early community members. And by doing that, you really figure out what you're building, why you're building, what you should be building next. Of course, it doesn't scale. It doesn't scale if you intend to be, tens of thousands of users down the road. You're not going to be able to do that. But with your batch of first users, do things that don't scale. So how do you do that? I group it into 3 C's: community, content, and creativity. You find these early adopters by tapping into your existing community, your friends and colleagues, people that follow you on Twitter. That's how I, even now, start my new projects, is by tapping my existing network. Hey, what do you think about this? Hey, would you try this out? Hey, would you ever think about buying this NFT? It's a great way to just kickstart your new projects. And then content. It's a way to kind of position yourself as an expert in the space by creating a bunch of valuable content. And then creativity. Speaking of ways that don't scale, things that don't scale, the more creative, the better. Not all of us are going to create some viral content, but it's helpful to do things that show how passionate you are about what you're building. So real quickly here, we're going to talk about what I call Web3 Spidey Sense, and that's like knowing what to build next. And it really comes down to enthusiasm for this space and knowing what's going on. So I bucket into 2 characteristics. What I call Web3 Spidey Sense is like the overlap between empathy and creativity. By building empathy, you're able to know what the user's thinking, what the user wants, what they want to do next. My trick has been building things that I want to see exist. If you're not the target market yourself, another great way to build empathy is by obviously observing your people, your community, your potential audience, your potential batch of listeners. By knowing what they think and knowing what they expect, you can start to deconstruct what works. Okay, so this project over here, they onboarded 100 different users. How did they do that? It's something that certain people are better at, but it's also something that is learned over time. It's something that can be taught, and that's building empathy for your audience. The second thing is improving creativity, and a couple of ways to do that are learning from other great builders. Surround yourself with others that are building in this space. That's why Skylab is a great resource for that. We're putting hundreds of people together that are building in Web3 and learning from each other. The second strategy for improving creativity is to be curious about what is going on in your domain. If I had to underline one thing, it's that. Curiosity, there's no replacement for curiosity. Getting someone to do something, whether it's install your app, or buy your NFT, or listen to your podcast, or join your DAO, it all comes down to a successful transition of enthusiasm from me to you. And nothing really beats being so curious that you're willing to do those things that don't scale. So in summary, it comes down to, we first talked about the steps needed to go from idea to passionate user base. And really my belief is that passionate builders lead to passionate users. And then knowing what to build next, knowing what's coming up next, is really a combination of empathy and creativity. Again, I'm Jordan Lyall from VenturePunk. You can follow me at Jordan Lyall. Thanks, everybody.